7 years later, Banshee still holds the record as the longest inverted roller coaster on the planet with 4,124 feet of track. It features the 5th largest drop at 150 feet and the 10th tallest at 167 feet. The ride reaches a max speed of 68 miles per hour, making it the 4th fastest, and finally tied at number 1 with 7 inversions. Located in the action zone at Kings Island, Banshee practically towers over every attraction in the area aside from Drop Tower. This is a massive inverted roller coaster by Bolliger and Mabiard, thus its massive price tag at $24 million. After opening, the ride received high praise from both general public and coaster enthusiasts. The coaster was instantly deemed a success. Well, here we are approaching the 2021 season, and I'd say that the opinions on this giant invert have started to shift over the years. My original review, which is based off of my 2017 ride, I considered Banshee to be an overly intense ride with dizzying amounts of inversions on a butter smooth track. After taking another ride in 2020, I'm not sure if this roller coaster still holds up to my original score. Let's get into my new review and find out if Banshee still holds up. Presentation. Looking over my original score, I undersold the presentation aspect of Banshee. The ride may not be loaded with theming, but it looks great and it's well placed in the park. Hearing the Banshee wail every time the roller coaster takes a dive down the first drop can invigorate anyone walking around in the action zone section of the park. The chapel that is used as a station is pretty neat looking, and you also can't forget about the giant tombstone in the area commemorating the history of Son of Beast. Banshee also has a really good looking sign. It's intimidating, all while selling you on the attraction you are about to ride. The color scheme is also well utilized. The bold pink, purplish track strikes well up against the dark blue supports. You have to admire how well this roller coaster implements the terrain. The max speed isn't achieved after the first drop, but in fact during the midpoint of the ride, either right before or during the pretzel knot inversion. My original score was 6.5, which is clearly too low. My new score will move it on up to 8.5. Ride intensity. I'm sticking with my original analysis. Banshee is one of the most intense inverts out there. I know some may argue that the Batman clones or even Raptor at Cedar Point is a more intense experience, but I disagree. Batman clones and Raptor feature snappy elements which deliver strong bursts of G-forces. Banshee's layout is more drawn out, so the G-forces are sustained for greater periods of time. Each inversion packs a punch, delivering powerful forces that push the blood right into your feet. The ride starts off with a steep twisting drop to the right. The coaster immediately enters its first inversion, a dive loop. In rapid succession, Banshee continues into its next 5 inversions. A vertical loop, 0G roll, pretzel knot which contains 2 inversions, and then finally a second vertical loop. These 6 inversions are the meat of the ride and will make you dizzy. I am always disoriented every time I disembark this roller coaster. After completing the vertical loop, Banshee enters the first non-inversion element, a simple upward turnaround. Honestly, I'm a little puzzled that they didn't attempt to make this an Immelman, that way you would also take the inversion record, but regardless, it's a nice change of pace from being tossed upside down multiple times in a row. The ride now comes to my favorite part of the ride, a slow inline twist. This is a nice change from the fast-paced inversions. This inversion is so slow you feel like you could fall right out of your seat. Of course, you're completely secure with Banshee's snug vest restraints, but it's a neat sensation and I wish more inverts would utilize inversions like this. The coaster then finishes off with a downward helix that leads right into the long brake run. Banshee will keep my original score of 10 for ride intensity. Fun factor. Now, depending on how you feel about intense roller coasters will affect your fun factor rating. I do enjoy an intense roller coaster, but in some ways I felt like Banshee was a little much. By the time I finished the second vertical loop, I'm relieved. Banshee feels somewhat like a workout, bracing for every inversion. The dizziness is also another aspect to consider. If you enjoy feeling dizzy, then Banshee will be a great ride, but if they cause you nausea, then rider beware. My original score was a 6, but after taking into fact the ride's rattle, yes, Banshee is no longer butter smooth, which I will discuss here shortly. I'm dropping my fun factor down to a 5. Again, some might rate this considerably higher, and I respect that. It really comes down to preference. Originality. B&M inverts or any of their looping models are very repetitive. They feature the same inversions and usually in the same order. Banshee is no different, with the first 6 inversions feel right out of the old B&M playbook. Some might argue that the pretzel knot is fresh, which technically it is, as only one other roller coaster ever featured this inversion, which was Moonsault Scramble. However, because this inversion is so large, it feels more like a dive loop and an implement in quick succession instead of one giant element. This is semantics, I know, and I am nitpicking some minute details, but you can't ignore that the inversions and sequence is pretty typical of B&M. The use of terrain in that final inversion is where B&M really shines with Banshee. As I mentioned earlier, Banshee hits its max speed near the midpoint of the ride, which means this roller coaster never really loses any speed until that final inversion. The slow, inline twist is something unique for an invert, especially by B&M. According to RCDB, there are other inverts with this type of element, but I'm only finding them on coasters by Golden Horse, a Chinese manufacturer. My original score was a 7, and looking over the details once again, I'm going to move that up a half point to 7.5. Ride smoothness. Oh, how Banshee has fallen from grace. I originally gave Banshee a perfect 10 rating for ride smoothness, stating it as butter smooth. Now, that couldn't be farther from the truth. There is a noticeable rattle that pops up throughout the course and can get pretty aggressive depending on where you are seated on the train. The farther to the back, the more aggressive the rattle becomes. Thankfully, the rattle is mostly contained to the bottom of the first drop, and during the pretzel knot, you will feel a rattle entering and exiting the first vertical loop, but I didn't think it was as strong during those parts of the ride. In the end, my new score will be a 7. Okay, the final score is going to be a 7.5, which is a little lower than my original score of 7.9. I think a good portion of the ride still holds up to my original review, but that new rattle that has developed after my 2017 ride has really hurt the overall score. I know some will still claim that Banshee is butter smooth, and I'd like to know where they are sitting on the train because I can't find that so-called magic seat. For those who enjoy intense roller coasters and can overlook the rattle, Banshee is the perfect coaster. I still think there is enough good here to overshadow any of the negative, which is why I will continue to give this roller coaster a shot during every visit, though I will only ride it if I can sit near the front of the train. My personal score is going to be a 6, which is pretty close to being middle of the pack. It's obviously not my favorite invert, that currently is Great Bear, but it's also not the worst. Personally, I don't think giant inverted roller coasters work. These models seem to do better with compact layouts that stay tight with the terrain. There's a reason why everyone speaks highly of Nemesis at Alton Towers. Even Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa is well regarded, and though that is a larger inverted roller coaster, the second portion of the ride stays really close to the ground, thus proving my point that terrain inverted coasters work best. So, in conclusion, did Banshee hold up? Well, in some ways yes, in other ways no. It's still the same intense coaster that it was 7 years ago, but now with a rattle. Depending on if you can overlook this flaw, Banshee will hold up. If you demand glossy smooth rides, then stick to the front of the train and you should do fine. Well, that concludes my review of Banshee. Tell me what you think of this giant invert in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please click on that like button. Maybe check out some of my other reviews. Every major roller coaster at Kings Island has its own review, so go give them a watch. As always, please subscribe. That way you'll continue to get great content brought to you by XscreamThrills.